Affairs Committee. Uh, Today, we are going to be talking about budget priorities for this committee that can work to improve our community as well in regards to the focus of consumer affairs or beyond. And then that's why Heather is here graciously joining us today to talk more about that in detail. I also just want to say that we're currently in the review phase. So one thing we'll be talking about is we do have one current priority on our docket that we can choose to keep or get rid of, but also this is a time for us to communicate as a committee to see if there's anything that we want to also add. However, in regards to that, we have to make sure that we're specific in what we're looking for, but all and then also just knowing that it needs to help the community. So also not this is not just for us, but we have to think about it in the sense of how many we're thinking of because I believe we have 40 maximum in regards to capital budgets, which is capital is the construction, reconstruction, and acquisition of capital assets such as a building and renovating schools, purchasing vehicles and equipment, including fire trucks and computer network systems. And then we have 20 maximum expense budget priorities for the entire board for CB6. And that definition of a expense budget priority is services like fire protection and police, social services, healthcare, education, and everyday needs like office supplies, rent, utilities, and vendor services. I just want to quickly just give that high level information. Before I switch it over to Heather to just kind of help, I want to give Marcel the floor because she did have her hand raised if she'd like to speak. If not, that's fine. But this is really just a communicate conversation for us as a community to get together and make sure we're all thinking the same, making sure that we're okay with what we have. If we want to add anything new, let's have a conversation about it. That's what this is. It's very relaxed agenda evening. And if there's something that Gladys and I cannot handle, cannot answer, that's since we're newer co-chairs of this committee. Heather again is here with us to answer any questions we have in regards to the budget process and for this committee. Any questions so far besides Marcel? Okay, Marcel, you can start first.
Thanks. Sorry for I don't want the floor. I just want and it was more geared to Heather and about what she said earlier, but then you kind of brought it back at the end when you said it's kind of a conversation. Heather, I kind of wanted to get an understanding of how the board and the committee has been able to balance or what the balance has been between growing the like economic value of our community, but also maintaining and preserving like safety and cleanliness. And I'm saying this specific to, the stadium, right? And the fact that like because we have the stadium and because there's a lot of entertainment, and I know it's controversial as far as the sound and all of that, but it's really a great opportunity for a lot of the restaurants and bars in our neighborhood to really make some money. And I know that it get great business. And, I know it makes kind of Forest Hills a hot spot, so to speak. But even so, if it's temporary, right? Just for the concerts, and then it becomes maybe recurring destination because you go to a really great restaurant that you went to after a concert and you come back and you spend money there and it stimulates our economy. But I know that some of the restaurant owners and bar owners that I've spoken to have said that like there's a concerted effort to get the party to get the concert goers out of there, right? It's kind of like get out of there and get on the train and go home. Is there a way, or has there been, is there a way that we can kind of get the best of both worlds where, you
Mhm.
know?
I can share a few things. Whether it was last year or year before, the stadium had tried to do concerts that will start an hour later and go until 11 o'clock. There was immense pushback from the residents. So they had to go back to the earlier schedule of ending at 10 and starting a little earlier. What they had found was that people would come to the community earlier, spend more money earlier, and then go to the stadium. Now, yes, there are food offerings at the stadium, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, they are all local businesses. For instance, Nick's Bistro has a table there, for example, has a little like thing. Um, So there are businesses there that are from the community. I know that there is a concerted effort to push people towards home. Some of the problem has been bathroom usage. So there have been some places like Red Mango, which closed, was just closing early on concert nights now because people were coming in just to use their bathroom. Because we do have a public bathroom problem. um you know, even in the community where bathrooms used to exist before COVID, they've all been closed over. If you look at the Starbucks at Target, they used to have 2 bathrooms, and now the way what they redesigned is they put a wall over the bathroom, so now the only people who can use the bathroom are the employees. Target went from 2 bathrooms to 1 bathroom. There is 1 bathroom available at the Starbucks up by Key Food. But I can tell you that when I was a mom, my kids used the bathroom at Barnes and Noble. And now, you know, that's not even really, you know, so I'm plus I don't have little ones. So I think that's part of the problem, is also getting people out the door and towards home because of that problem. Some, you know, I think they're also concerned a little bit. Maybe have some folks who not necessarily are getting overserved at the stadium, but you know, it's like they're getting a little tipsy, and you know, you kind of don't want to have those issues. You kind of want people to have their fun, maybe be a little tipsy, take the train home, sleep it off, have a great day the next day, you know. But I do agree. I mean, we have discussed this. For example, there's Station House, which is one of the restaurants right there. They're going to lose their outdoor dining structure because the law there says that there's supposed to be no parking in that area from 4 to 7 to allow for there to be some sort of movement in traffic. To create 2 lanes from 4 o'clock, so for 3 hours a day, they're going to lose their dining structure. So we thought it would be beneficial, and we reached out to DOT and said, hey, could you look at this? It does the benefit that we get from this 4 to 7 window really help this particular, really help the traffic to the point where they're going to lose outdoor dining seats, right? And they came back to us, and DOT said, no, we need to keep that. We haven't had it for 4 years. We're seeing all this back up on Austin Street. We really need to remove the dining structures. And so that's sort of what has been happening. We have we have talked to the stadium, you know, about some of the challenges specifically with the bathrooms, because we need a solution. One of the things that we recommended to them was to sort of do what they do at like the ball games, is like request that people use the bathroom before they go home, remind them over loudspeakers when they leave. But I know that some businesses are really are still benefiting greatly. I do think they would benefit more from some after concert service. But I don't know how we facilitate that beyond what we've already done. I know there is one challenge that we can't do anything about, and that is that outdoor dining in Station Square has been shut down. Forest Hills Gardens Corporation is not permitting Dirty Pierre's, Prince Tea House, or Jade to have their outdoor dining anymore. We aren't clear as to why. We know that there have been some very emotion-filled emails and correspondence that's gone back and forth. I think there may be some lawyers involved when it comes to the Dirty Pierre situation, because some of these places like Dirty Pierre's, which has been here for a long time, has always had a couple of tables outside. So we're not sure what's happened there. So that has also been harmful to these businesses, because seeing people eat outside draws people inside, you know. And if they don't see people eating outside, you know, they may see a place called Dirty Pierre's and be like, and they don't live here, they're like, what is this? I don't know, kind of a weird name, you know. Meanwhile, it's a great place to get a burger on a good English muffin. And the same thing with Jade, is it allows these restaurants, when they meet capacity inside, to at least have some outside seating. So I mean, we're doing what we can within the scope of our role. As far as getting people to stay, I don't know what more can be done at this point. But thank you for the question.
Thank you for the answer. It was really insightful. So that's what I was looking for. So thank
Yeah,
you.
and I don't think we're done figuring all this out. I think right now, for 2 years now, we're in the second year of the squabble between the Gardens Corporation and the West Side Tennis Club and the stadium. I think once we're able to kind of put that to rest, then some of these other problems that are lingering around, like how do we continue to benefit from the community? Just as a point, Metro Village has wanted to very much benefit from the concerts too, but they're so far away. So one of the things that they've thought about is having a trolley that would take people from down here up there. It wouldn't be unsightly. It wouldn't be like a big Metro North, a big MTA bus, right? And that people could get on the trolley for free, go up to Metro Village, up to Metropolitan, grab some dinner, and come back down and go to the concert, or go up there for after the concert and have a drink or two to whatever's still open up on Metropolitan. So I know that Metro Village, which is now finally, I think they're getting close to having their 501c3. So they're gonna be able to do quite a bit. I know that they're trying to kind of come up with how they can also benefit, not just Austin Street, which I think is great. So I think we've got the right person up at Metro Village doing that. I just wish we had that kind of energy down here on the Austin Street side of things.
That's crazy because I literally just had that idea. I was just thinking about the fact that like now I'm going out to Metropolitan more because there's so many great places and it's like, and I literally thought about it and I was thinking, the concert, promoters who are definitely benefiting should probably have some skin in the game in providing some of these additional services. Like maybe that's part of the resolution, right? Like let's get them out of there, but let's get them out of there through the shuttle so they're not peeing in people's yards, all right? And let's you know, let's have them explore other parts of the community, but not from a pissing perspective, but like, patronize these businesses or,
Yeah,
let's put more porta potties out or something like that. I don't know, but
but we have to
I
make
was
sure.
just thinking about that. when you said
I
that.
think the challenge is going to be making sure that Forest Hills Gardens Corporation is going to be cooperative and allow a trolley to go back and forth. And so I'm going to hope that Rachel's able to sort of have and manage that conversation because there is no bad blood between Rachel and the Forest Hills Gardens Corporation. So hopefully she'll be able to capitalize on that. I know politically, and this is just chitter chatter from people in the gardens, is that there is just such tremendous bad blood between the existing leadership of Forest Hills Gardens Corporation and West Side Tennis Club that it's sort of coloring everything that is done that even remotely affects the stadium. Now, I can't speak to that firsthand. We as a board have had a good working relationship with them because we've done all this ADA stuff with the Station Square that we're trying to get done. But I know that from what I'm hearing from other people is that there's just some real there's an obstructionist mindset. And so if the feeling is that this trolley could be helpful to the stadium in a sense, they may feel like it's not something they want to participate in. I hope that's helpful. But we're trying to play peacemaker. We're trying to, be the eyes and ears and be a nice, friendly voice in the room for both sides to sort of find that, what is it in Hinduism or Buddhism? Where is that like middle path? We're trying to find that. So hopefully we'll be successful.
It'd be so cool if there's actually a trolley, like a legit trolley would be so cool. Going
I
through the
think it would be
garden like
great.
that.
We vacation, my husband and I, we haven't for the past couple of years because we've been going to Greece and stuff. But like we used to go to Rehoboth Beach all the time. And one of their ways to deal with traffic was they had this cute little trolley that would drive outside to Highway 1, where people would park their cars, pick them up, and then bring them into to the beach town. And spend their whole day at the beach town. They just get back on the trolley and go back out, which is great because if you're in the beach town, you have to feed the meter all day. So what a cute little thing, right? And so when she came up with this idea and this is when Frank was here and he talked about it, I'm like, that is so freaking cute, and it so fits with sort of the historical kind of stuff that we got going on in the gardens anyway. So
Mhm.
I'm just hoping, let's just send out goodness to make sure that happens.
I love it. Thank you.
And
Welcome.
if that were to happen with the trolley, is that something that the Metro Village is something that they will have to fund themselves?
I don't know how that funding will work. They might
Okay.
be able to, because they're a 501c3, that the restaurants and businesses up there might be able to sponsor it to some degree.
Okay.
That's always a possibility.
Mhm.
I'm not sure exactly how they would fund it, but I think it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, it is.
Great. So thank you. Heather,
Um,
let's switch over, unless anyone has anything else, then there, please speak up if you have anything else. But Heather, let's switch over to the budget priorities and just let's talk about, I can talk about the high level priority that we have currently, or you can, and then we can decide as
Sure.
a committee if we want to keep that or if we want to maybe table it for now. And let's give the opportunity for people to speak and see if they have anything they might want to add, and then also, and then like as a committee decide if that's something we want to do, and then get your feedback and tell us if this is too general or too broad, or if this maybe needs to go with another committee like you mentioned earlier. So I
Okay.
just wanted to kind of start off that way, if that's okay.
Yeah, the budget priority you had, it has been submitted twice. It was submitted last year and year before. It basically it basically is the request is for business district signage directing people to the following locations: Austin Street, Metropolitan Avenue, Forest Hills Long Island Railroad, Forest Hills Stadium, and subway stations and other locations as needed. Now, some background I can provide on this, is that they basically got back to us, the city, meaning the Office of Budget of the budget of office, basically the budget office got back to us and said securing funding for this request is outside of the EDC's jurisdiction. Please contact the agency if you have any further questions. So what we would do next would be the request would be then submitted to the appropriate council member for where we would like the signage to be. So in this particular instance, if we're talking about Forest Hills and the Forest Hills Business District and Metropolitan, this would all be signage, likely that Lynn Schulman would have to sponsor and pay for. Now, I can tell you in regards to the stadium, for example, that used to be up here. It is up here as number 4 location. There is a sign for the stadium. Actually, there were 2 signs. There's now 1. The one sign for the stadium that remains is on Queens Boulevard as you are driving towards Jamaica, and it basically directs you to the stadium via Yellowstone Boulevard, because that would be the most logical way to go if you were trying to drive. Because if you proceed onto Continental, you're crap out of luck, because they block it all off, right? So they send you up to Yellowstone because there's a lot of residential around there. They're thinking you'll probably be able to find some parking, probably. The stadium does do a really good job as a point to tell people to not drive to the shows, to take public transit, and they also do work with the Long Island Railroad to queue up multiple cars, and they let the railroad know when the final act is going on, so that those cars are ready to pull in, those trains are ready to pull in. So that's the one sign that I know that we do have. We had another sign, but it belonged in Station Square, and when all the lawsuit went over there, it said this way to the stadium. They ripped it down out of just frustration. So that sign went away. Poof. So any other signage, but again, the question is there a need for the signage? Do people not know where Austin Street and where Austin Street and Metropolitan are? Now, maybe they don't know where the railroad station is. You know, maybe let's say that you did, you know, all of a sudden you get to Forest Hills and somebody's been hit by a train and you're trying to get to work. And so now you get off the train in Forest Hills and you're like, okay, how the hell do I find my way to the Long Island Railroad? I'm not from around here. I don't know where it is, because really it just looks like a trestle. There really is no signage pointing to that. So that could be something that is a real need. And maybe it isn't the EDC that does that. And if you feel that there's a need for a sign, maybe you do write to the council member and say, we would like a sign, or somewhere in the station or something that directs people to the Long Island Railroad. That could be an example. But it's up to you as to whether or not you keep it or not. It's up to this committee. So You guys can talk amongst yourselves.
Heather, is this something that you've heard from businesses that it is a need in the community, or this is something that the community, the previous committee came up with as an idea of something on how to help the community? So I
The
wanted to
previous-
know how was the idea for how did it come up first?
Sure, the previous committee came up with this idea.
Okay. But it was based on their own observations and
Yes.
conversations with, okay. But it's
Yes.
not something that businesses have been asking or submitting for the board to do for them. Okay.
No. And really, most of the time, you know, most of the businesses that reach out to us are usually up around Metro. Businesses down around Austin or 108th or 63rd Drive don't normally reach out to us.
I was about to say, I feel as though we've been talking a lot about Metropolitan, and how those businesses may not be looked at as as an option for people. So I love that idea of the trolley. I'm trying to think if there's something that we can do to,
To make that happen?
yeah, because I agree. Like if you're leaving the stadium, let's say for instance, or you're coming off
Mhm.
the MTA, it's very convenient to get to Ascan, Austin Street, Yellowstone, 108. But going to Metro, you have to take the SBS bus from the mall, or um, take the bus from Austin that takes you. I think it's Q23 if I'm correct, Heather. That drops you off right there at the TD Bank or nearby, or there's
Mhm.
another bus. There's another bus that goes around Park Lane South. But Metropolitan keeps going, so like but we want people to be able to entertain those businesses as well. So I wonder if we do a budget, as Vice mentioned, how can we center it around helping Metropolitan to get more business after or before the concerts?
I think some people would argue that the Queensway will do that whenever it opens. Um, it's not
When
really
it opens. When it
yes,
opens.
it's not really transportation.
Yeah.
I know that that's supposed to be one of the benefits. I would say it is challenging because sometimes I try to take a lot of times if I'm going to the office, I take an Uber, but sometimes I like to try to take the bus. And so for me, it's like the 60 to the 23.
Yeah.
But the 23 is so problematic because it does the same thing the 60 does. You have two
Mhm.
or three buses that crunch together, and then there's a wide gap between those buses and whatever else is coming, and you end up waiting, 15, 20 minutes, which I think for a district like ours that has got so much public transit, that should never be the case. There was, I know, a couple of years ago before COVID, the idea of sort of and this was when we heard the first presentation of the Queens Bus redesign, was that it would be nice if there was some sort of a bus that would take you around to all the businesses, sort of like a community bus that would take you like Queen Center Mall, the Rego Park Center Mall, on up to like to Austin Street and then up to Metro over to Stop and Shop and then back down again. And you would just create this sort of loop, where you would go Woodhaven, Queens Boulevard, Austin Street, and you could hit Austin Street and then go up Burns and then come down. But the problem is within the Gardens Covenant, there can be no buses that travel through. So that is why the 23 has this wiki whack sort of route that kind of makes a left here, goes up a few blocks, makes another turn, and kind of goes jiggy jaggy through these streets to finally get to its location, because it cannot go through the gardens. Now, some people would say it's because of the trestles, but really it's because of the covenant. They are a gated community without a gate.
Got it.
Can I
Howard,
ask?
yeah.
I was gonna say Howard's hands up.
Yeah.
I was thinking about something. If you need a sign, why don't you speak to Grace Main? She could put one up in the subway at 71st, tell the people where the Long Island Railroad is and for the concerts.
Yeah. I mean, that is something too, is if you do want it in the train station, we could reach out to our state reps, which would be Andy Hevesy and actually Leroy Comrie.
Yeah.
and Joe Adabo and ask them if they would mind sponsoring signage in the community to direct people from the subway to the Long Island Railroad. But that would be something beyond the budget priorities. I know that there's been discussion before about how to get people around, but the problem is that you really need to be able to use those middle streets of Continental or
Mhm.
Burns in order for this to really be effective. Because the other thing is, part of the reason why the 23 is kept on Austin Street is because of our aging population that is so bus dependent that there was a plan at one point to pull it and it would kind of travel down by McDonald Park on that Queens Boulevard piece that's between the park and the post office. And it would sort of travel that way, but it was putting its riders too far from the places that they need to frequent. And it was going to create a bit of a burden for them, a physical burden. So they wound up moving it back onto Austin Street.
It's a
So
flat
that was
surface.
some of the challenges.
Yeah, I mean, just where that place is that you mentioned, first off, on Sundays, there's the market. So the bus would be able to go through there on Sundays. Second off, it's uphill from that drop-off spot between the post office and Planet Fitness or the apartment complex. I want to just kind of see if Inez, Martha, David, even Marcella, if you all have anything that you all want to highlight and be a potential budget priority. If not, it's okay. I just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to speak if you'd like to.
I see Howard's hand.
No, I'm done.
Bentley, this is Martha.
Hey, Martha.
I put it into the text and we need more bus routes on Metropolitan
Okay.
and we actually need a better route from the concerts to Metropolitan because I go to the concerts a lot and for me to go to a cab stand from Metro to Queens Boulevard and pay $15 is just ridiculous. And I do that all the time, concerts nights, because the bus, in order for me to take the bus, I have to go all the way to Yellowstone and I believe 67th Avenue. I have to walk all the way down there. It's quicker for me to walk home. That should not
Yeah.
be the case.
Okay, thank you, Martha. So Heather, if that's something that we could do, how could we word that so it's something that can fit into the like I don't know these things, so I'm just asking. Like that's a good point.
My concern is with the buses is that, we've been submitting feedback on the current Queens bus redesign. We are waiting for them to get back with us on that. So to ask for more bus stops at this point, I think the agency, even though Martha makes a really good point, because yeah, it is $15. When I take an Uber from my house over here on 66 in Austin to go up to the office, yeah, it's about $15. Absolutely, she's right. And it is costly. But I think they would tell you that the commenting period is over and that at this point they're not looking to make any additional changes. I don't know how, and I really think that would be the feedback that you would probably get from Peter as well, and I would probably, and Christine as well. So unfortunately, I don't know that there's anything we can do in that regard. And the sad thing is, it isn't $15 is what it costs, period, even without the concerts. So it isn't even the concerts are causing extra traffic. It's just crazy. I don't disagree with Martha one little bit.
And I actually really love the idea of the trolley. I remember I have a friend, one of my cousins lives in Coral Gables in Florida. And part of the tourism, when I go and stay with them, there is a trolley that takes you throughout the whole town. And it's a little bus. It's adorable. I thought it was super cute that it would take you everywhere. And you know that Florida is not built for public transportation. But just in the amount of people that use this, it's free. It goes, I think it passes every hour. And it goes from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So it's just something to give the businesses in the area, the residents, access to the businesses in the area. So it never occurred to me that it could be something that we can also do here, but I think it would be great. But at this point, since it's a trolley, I don't know if it will fall under the transit committee or it's something that we can also propose.
I mean, we could, you know, put it in for the Economic Development Corporation agency, and we could say that we would like a trolley that would travel between the business district and Metropolitan and Austin Street. We could, you guys could definitely put that on the list. And we could, because the interesting thing is everything you guys submit, we then submit to the public for them to like pick their top 5 priorities. Be very interesting to see how the community comes out for that. Because even if it wouldn't help us, let's just say the EDC comes back to us and says this is something local electeds need to support, we could give that information to Rachel, who runs the Metro Village group, and say, hey, you know, when we asked the community what they thought were their top 5, you know, capital and expense priorities, one of the things that came out was that there were this number of people that support this idea of a trolley. So know that, you know, either the community is with you or isn't with you. And I think the community would be with you, because I do think that sometimes, you know, you get into a rut sometimes eating at the same places on Austin Street. So you'd like to kind of go up to Metro, but you're like, that I have to drive, or it's a walk and it's raining. You know.
I think we can also word it to make it more our hours versus transportation, in the sense that this is helping us to grow our economy. Like, we're making sure that people are leaving the concert to go and spend their money at those businesses, or vice versa. They're going there first and then spending their money and taking the trolley to the concerts. And also, listen, I'm not saying this because, you know, New York is very expensive, but if they want to charge like a couple dollars per rider, maybe that's another way of growing it in the economy. I'm just saying. So, or you know,
or something like that.
Yeah.
Something to keep.
Just to keep, you know, the amount of people that will probably take it, you'll make it just to like help with upkeep of the trolley and gas, hopefully. So that's how I think we could word it. I don't know. Does anybody have any feedback?
Yes, and I have friends that live on the other side of not Metropolitan, Queens Boulevard.
Mhm.
And I tell them about the great restaurants of Metropolitan. They're like, oh, that's just because that's far there, or I don't have a way of getting there easily. So they're missing the opportunity of seeing other restaurants because of the lack of transportation.
Yeah.
I agree. So, Inez, David, Mr. Marcel, Howard, do you all have any feedback? I guess, you know, I think this is a good thing that we should talk about, and maybe we can word it a proper way with Heather's help so that we can submit
I
this.
love it. I mean, I concur with all that was said.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally with it.
Okay. All right. So we can propose this as one of our proposals. And do we want to keep the one with the sign, or do we want to put that on the back burner for? I don't see the point of the sign, honestly.
Yeah.
Where was the sign? Oh, sorry.
I think it makes sense to get rid of the signs, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It's not like people don't have Google Maps. Inez has her hand up.
She's muted. I don't know if we can unmute her.
Let me see.
Oh, no, Inez, you're muted. There we go.
No?
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear you now.
I'm not really clear on the issue that you're discussing right now. What exactly are these signs for? What is the purpose of the signs?
The purpose of the signs was to help people find their way to major pieces of our community, like Austin Street, Metropolitan Avenue, Forest Hill Stadium, and things of that nature. But the city got back to us, the budget office got back to us and basically said, the Economic Development Corporation, this is beyond their scope. This is something that we cannot fund. If you need funding, basically the recommendation was to work with your local elected officials. So we would have to then reach out to our elected officials to then fund out of their discretionary funds these signs. But the discussion has been, are these signs absolutely necessary? We do have a sign for Forest Hill Stadium, but do we really need a sign to help people find Austin Street and Metropolitan Avenue? Especially in a day and age when we have, Google Maps and so on and so forth. So the thought was that because the city has already said it can't and won't fund it, why keep it on there? Especially if it's not like a big urgent need, and maybe add instead this idea of a sort of shuttle type trolley that would help people travel from Austin Street to Metropolitan to shop and to eat at restaurants.
Also, I just want to quickly speak out that Martha did say that the signs are already in subways and bus stops. I didn't know this. I just wanted to highlight that to everyone.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you, Martha.
Inez, does that clear up anything, or do you have any other questions regarding this? Regard to the signs, at least.
I feel like when we did this sign thing, this budget priority, I think we did this with Elizabeth, right? Last year? I
Yes.
was a part of that that meeting, that call. That was torture, but we did it. And I think at that time,
Oh my
I think
God.
at that time, what we were also thinking about, and this is really has nothing to do with nothing, but just also something that was aesthetic, right? That kind of also like the sign was just not like a sign. It was also kind of like almost one of those posts with like the various directional type things that you'd see maybe in like Disneyland or something like that, because there are so many beautiful, intricate throughways in our community that really don't get discovered because people go directly to where they're going and they go back. So I don't know. I mean, and again, it still lands in the same place as far as like the economic developments. Like we don't do that. But I think that as we were talking about those signs being necessary, there was also the further conversation of like, oh, and this could really look nice within the community. So I guess what I'm thinking now is what jurisdiction is there for there to be a sign that maybe becomes something that some of the businesses sponsor? Like if you want your business to be highlighted on this particular, like, okay, Trader Joe's is here, like there's an arrow, a directional, and I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, like a post, like, one of those like old time type posts that have, signs that are in the direction of whatever that business is, but looks very cute. I'd have to Google it and find it. But is there an opportunity maybe for that to be erected and have businesses, particularly some of the larger ones, sponsor that?
I think it's a great idea, but I think that first of all, that wouldn't be a budget priority because the
No.
city's not going to pay for that. But it would be
Gotcha.
something that like a chamber of commerce would do, for example. Like I could see Metro Village, putting up a sign at some point up there, that could even point people to Forest Park, for example. So, but it's up to, but I think it would be up to our local chambers to
Okay.
sort of sponsor something like that because they already have, or at least they say they already have existing relationships with all the businesses
Okay.
under their whatever. But it's a cute idea. A few years ago, we had a board member who unfortunately passed away during COVID, Chris Collette, who wanted to take, those beautiful, the light fixtures with the circular and the nice little, he wanted to have all the fixtures on Austin Street replaced to look like that. And I've always thought that would be a neat idea because it ties that business corridor in with the corridor behind it. The problem is the city won't pay for that. And looking at sort of what we're grappling with the city right now, we're trying to get, 3K for our kids. We're trying to get libraries to be open more than 5 days a week. We're fighting for a lot of things for our schools, proper funding for our schools. So the city is not going to pay for a cute sign, but I really think the chamber could, and it could work on something like that because I think it would really add to the character of the neighborhood. And it would be neat because every business sort of has its own aesthetic. I mean, Trader Joe's, you always feel like you're at a Jimmy Buffett concert when you go in there. So, it would be really a cute thing to do. But they've got to kind of take up the take up the mantle and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Maybe that's something we can talk to the Forest Hills Chamber of Commerce about, Marcel, when we see them next time at our meetings.
They come trying to get a permit for a street fair.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
They did, I will say, the chamber did attend our land use meeting on Tuesday evening. They were in attendance. They did come and listen. So it was nice to see them there.
Wonderful. Hold on one second.
Sorry. My seat got uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Oh,
Yes, I agree, Martha. That's perfect. Okay. Well, Heather, so I guess, and maybe I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse or how, if you have any suggestions for us, how would we best write this budget priority out to be submitted and as part of the top priorities?
I put something in the chat. This is
I know.
Martha.
I'm reading them, Martha, out. I said they were good ideas. I think, but if you want to add to it, you can.
Okay, I would like to,
Yes.
because I've done this successfully in Glen Cove. I actually work in Glen Cove,
Mhm.
so I'm part of the Glen Cove Chamber of Commerce. And what we do is, the whole idea is to drive traffic to the Glen Cove community. And if we give store owners a reason to support transportation, signage, they will do so. I think that the problem with Metropolitan is there's not enough public transportation going into Metro. I mean, basically you have them going in 71st and Continental, you dump them off. That's it. We neglect Trader Joe's. In the prior days, I mean, I've lived here. We used to have a bus that actually drove them all the way down to Woodhaven, which was in front of Trader Joe's, and then make the left to Woodhaven and then go to the apartments. It was a circular route, but everybody had access. Now they don't have access to Angie's, which is a store on Metropolitan. They don't have access to Trader Joe's. So yeah, we have all these great ideas, but we're not supporting the Metropolitan Avenue businesses at all. We don't.
So
But I will say that Metropolitan, though, has a very good organized, they may not be they're not a part of the Forest Hills Chamber, and not for lack of trying. They've tried and been rejected. So Metro Village has been meeting monthly, and they have been very active and in working. They've been doing a lot of work with street beautification and dealing with tree planting and things of that nature, trying to organize to do different things and events. They have a day where they do all these different things. They just filed for a 501c3 that will allow them to do even more, which will be tremendously helpful. And they do seem to have good leadership. So they are young. They are young in their beginnings. I think they're maybe 5 years in their beginnings. I think they started over COVID. I think we give them a chance, and I think it's good. You're going to see good things from them because they are sort of isolated up there in a sense.
And Martha, to your point, we are, so that the thought is with this,
They are to support the businesses in Metropolitan. That's always been the problem. So they don't have the bus stops. We used to 10 years ago, before the reroute. And it's so funny because 10 years ago, we didn't have the high schools and the middle schools.
Can you hear me? I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Okay, sorry. So Martha, just to your point, I want to know that I was listening. So I think just from what I got, everything is that if it's allowed, I don't know if it is, the thought is that some of the stuff that you're talking about would be better for the Metro Village and also the Forest Hills Chamber of Commerce to kind of focus on those signs. Now, in regards to bringing people to those businesses, that's where we're trying to figure out how to reword this trolley idea so that more people from the concerts, or even if they want to expand it, let's say Metro Village wants to expand, she just left. But if Metro Village wants to expand, maybe the trolley can also expand their route. So it's not happening just for the concerts. It could be happening where maybe the trolley picks up people on Austin Street and takes them to Metropolitan Avenue. I don't know. I just want Martha to know that we hear what she's saying.
Yeah,
We'll
I think
voice
she
that.
had a tech problem because
Yeah.
her sound was coming in and out.
Yeah.
So maybe she logged off to log back in.
So I guess, Heather, while we wait for Martha, how do you have a suggestion or some points on how we can word this so that it can
Sure.
be put into the budget process?
Sure. I was thinking I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Okay. Gladys, do you have anything else that you want to talk to this point too? Sorry, I want to
No,
make sure.
regarding this, so we can do, I don't think we need to write the actual proposal right now. I think it's something that we can think of how to do it, say, come with the idea and then back and forth. When do we need to submit this proposal by,
I
Heather?
think June
No,
28th.
it's actually not a proposal. You literally have to write one line.
Yeah.
Yes, so something, so the
Yeah,
line
so-
to do, yes. And then what we can work on is the explanation where asked, okay, what is it that you're looking to do? Then that's when we can do so it can be something very quick. I don't think we need to come up with the wording here because I think the whole purpose is to bring people from the Long Island Railroad and the MTA, that like center location, all the way to Metropolitan in a trolley. And
Yeah.
then the work would be later is identify the route, the times, all of that. But at this point, something where that's the idea, the public will vote on it and see how much track that gains, and then include it in the budget.
Right. I just put in the chat some potential simple wording because we only have so much space. So I tend to, so we tend to try to keep it to like one, no more than 2 sentences. We do have some priorities that come to us very big that we kind of have to kind of clean it up because these are put into sort of a portal, which does have very limited space, character space. So this could be a way to write that on the template. And honestly, I mean, this is sort of thing like if there are needs, the question is how do they get met? And like I said, they're not always met through budget priorities. They can be met through raising the need to the Queen's Chamber, or raising the need, because like there are parts of our community that don't have a chamber, like, the communities in Rego Park, for example. So that would be something that, and maybe at some point we can get a presentation from the Queen's Chamber so we can better understand what they can help us with.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you, Gladys, how do you feel, or everyone, how do we feel about the sentence that Heather shared with us? I mean, we can always tailor it. Yes, Inez.
I vote yeah.
Well, but you're not on this committee.
Oh, sorry, all right.
And I don't think we're voting on it.
Okay, but I agree what you're talking about.
Howard comes with the energy all the time.
Yeah.
We love it.
Inez, you have the floor.
I just have a question regarding trolley. Is this something that needs to go through the DOT or it's not necessary? It's approval from the Department of Transportation?
No, what has to happen is once we submit it, it will get the community board will review it. Once we submit it to the city, then the Office of Management and Budget will work with the appropriate agency and they will let us know what has to happen next. Like they'll let us know if EDC supports it, if the Economic Development Corporation of New York City can support this priority. And if they can't, they may suggest then that we reach out to elected officials to fund this project. And then we would do that. But I think we do look at the Economic Development Corporation because they have to fund it. The question is who's going to pay for it? let's face it, the MTA ain't paying for squat now that they've kind of screwed up congestion pricing. So, because there's multitudes of
pause.
projects that are on hold now.
So I
Okay.
guess as a committee, we can tailor it, but how does everyone feel with what Heather provided as like a base of what we are looking for? I just kind of want to hear from the committee to see if that's something they're comfortable with, because it's not just myself and Gladys and Heather. Like, this is coming from the entire Consumer Affairs Committee, so we want you all to feel comfortable as well if this is something that we're putting on as a budget priority from our committee. Thanks, David.
David, all is good for me. Great.
Perfect. I know I heard from Marcel. Inez, are you good with it? Perfect. Okay. I'll wait for Martha to hear from Martha.
Okay.
Martha, are you with us again?
Let me see. She's here.
Yeah.
Martha. I know it seemed like she was having some sound microphone issues.
Mm.
She's muted now. I could put a request to unmute. See what happens. Martha Tucker.
I know sometimes on phones it's hard to unmute.
Yeah. If she can't answer you because she's having tech issues,
Yeah.
you could just email her, copy and paste and just email her. That might be easier because especially if she's trying to get home and she's trying to do this,
Got it.
that's really challenging.
All right. I think
So-
that Brandy, I think that's what we can do. So we don't wait for
Yeah.
everybody and then we'll take a quick vote and then we'll send it as a proposal.
I'll-
Okay,
I'll
great.
email it to Martha now. So are we good with the wording, or do we want to add on to it, Gladys or the committee?
The way Heather wrote it is simple and to the point. And
I've had to learn to do that. I tend to be too many words. How I talk is how I used to write. And now
yeah,
that's how I talk. One thing at a time.
and if it's 50 proposals, we want to keep them succinct and easy to understand. And if they want more explanation, then that's when we can come up with a longer.
Right, and sometimes when you use more words, it actually confuses the agency.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, we've learned we used to think like more is more is more, and then we found out with our priorities that they would only read so far, and they were like, okay, we're done with you. So we were like, okay, so less is more. So then we started cleaning them up a bit. But I
That's good.
appreciate where you all's heads at tonight. This is great.
Perfect.
Oh.
Okay, I just emailed Martha. Go ahead, Gladys, sorry.
Yeah, no. I just wanted to see if this is it for the proposals and anything to do with the budget. We can move to the second part of the meeting.
Mhm.
And this is an informal proposition to whenever we have a business that's requiring a new liquor license or one that's renewing it and we're not familiar with it, we were thinking that we as a committee can go and visit them and maybe dine there or have appetizers, anything just to get to know the business, where the business is located, know who the people managing the business are, and just for us to gain familiarity with the business, because I think, when I have voted with some of the businesses, and even though I reviewed the document, no free
No
drinks.
free, nothing free, David. Come on now. Even though we wish.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to visit the business and tell them that we are representing the community board and that we're here because they submitted an application. It would be something very informal. So it wouldn't be a requirement for us to do it. It's just something that Brandy and I have been talking about it, that we would like to do it ourselves. And then we said we want to include the committee in case this is something that the committee wants to do as well. Again, not mandatory, nothing that we have to do. We're not supposed to receive free drinks from the locations that we visit. We cannot receive anything where they can feel or it can feel that there is a conflict of interest or they're getting unfair advantage because they're buying us dinner or they're doing anything like that. So we have to be very careful. It was more as a way of us getting to know the business, seeing where they were located, and just for us to maybe have something to do once a month outside of our homes.
No, I mean, not that I have any approval power, but I like the thought of it because I think that the community is growing and there's so many new businesses. And I tend to, be a creature of habit. I support the same ones over and over, which is fantastic. But I think that it sometimes becomes a little hard when we are renewing. And obviously, the note that the precinct hasn't had any complaints is really helpful. But other than
Yeah.
that, it's like, and of course, nobody wants to like stop someone's bag or stop someone's business opportunity. So it's not like we want to say no to the liquor license, but I think it would be beneficial to be somewhat familiar with some of these businesses, more familiar with, particularly some of the new ones.
Yes.
Agreed.
And it would be something that if it is a business that none of us know, I think it would be a great idea.
Yeah.
But again,
I-
it's something that we do on our own. We're not getting funds from CV6 to go and have dinner on CV6 or free drinks on Heather.
Free drinks on Heather, but not CV6.
Inez, you have your hand up. I
Yeah.
was gonna.
I agree that we are not here to stop anybody from doing business, but definitely, I think a little more careful, look at the people that are applying for these licenses. We just approved some licenses, I did myself today, and I noticed here in Rego Park, I'm not sure that one of the businesses that we approved is within the 500 feet rule. I noticed that there are like 4 places where liquor license. So the suggestion from Gladys, checking, well, not checking, looking, visiting,
Actually,
is a
checking the
good
business.
idea because I'm not sure who checks on these rules before sending us the applications, you know? I'm not even-
Which one are we talking about? Barosas?
We're talking about Black Sea,
Oh, Black Sea. Oh, okay, on Queens Boulevard. Okay, gotcha.
okay? And are you familiar with that area?
I am. I live on the
Okay,
side.
so you know that Tropics has a food license,
Yes,
Tandoor has a food license.
yes.
They just opened the Vietnamese place that I know they got the license approved. And now we have Black Sea. So we are talking about 4, really steps from each other.
But the Black Sea is still so this is a new license, meaning, okay, got it. So they've been operating there as a business, but they're now asking for a liquor license.
Right, the Black Sea has been here for some time.
The
They're
Black
not a
Sea's
new,
been there. Yeah, that's why when
They're
I looked
not
at it, I
new.
was like, okay, but I didn't realize they didn't have liquor license before.
the newest business in that stretch is the Vietnamese business.
Right.
And the Black Sea has been there a while. Tropics was there. Tropics, we did have some issues with at one point over COVID, but that seemed to have gotten resolved, to my understanding.
I think we have to realize that these are recommendations, they're not approvals. So if there's multiple restaurants at one spot that's offering liquor, we are not the ones. We can say we're not recommending them for a liquor license. That is the point of this part. But I think that they can still they can still get the license even if we say no, correct, Heather? Am I
Yes,
understanding
that has
correctly?
actually happened.
Yeah.
We had several
Yeah.
people vote against a liquor license because of something that happened during COVID, and they still got their liquor license approved by the state. I guess the state felt that whatever concerns that we expressed didn't rise to the level of them not getting their liquor license. Now, I'm not saying they don't ever do that. I know that, for instance, in Board 1, there was a business that was highly problematic, and they did finally lose their liquor license, but it took an enormous amount of work for that to actually take place. So my understanding, I'm not saying that the liquor authority is playing fast and loose here, but I'm just saying that they seem to have a different level of expectations in regards to who they will and won't approve than we do. And they're the ultimate authority.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question, Inez? I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
thank you.
So I just want to move over to the chat. David mentioned how would these visits be divvied up? David, this is a good opportunity for us to have that conversation, just to kind of see how people feel about it. Gladys and I just wanted to kind of feel out the committee to see if this is something that, as a committee, we were interested in. Again, this is not a requirement. It's totally optional. But you know, we can kind of make that decision as a committee how we want it to be done. If we want to, and we actually noticed that tonight with Black Sea that they've been around, but it's a new liquor license because they've expanded and they're asking for one now. So that's as a operating business. Some of our new liquor licenses, these businesses may not be opened yet, so we won't be able to go to them if they're not open. And also to Glass's point, there may be a business that we don't know anything about, and we're like, hey, we should go check this place out. This is in our community. So I want to just see if anyone wants to jump in and just kind of make a suggestion on what would be the best plan of action if we were to go to these restaurants. Do we want to do one a month? Do we want to do what? How do we want to do it? I'm here to listen.
And it's also wanted to add that it's something that the whole committee doesn't have to do it. It could be two
Yes.
people from the committee. It could be one, maybe you went with your family and you wanted to say, you know what, I went to this business and this is my opinion on the business. We can do it like that as well. But it was just for us because from what I understand before I was in the committee, the businesses used to come and present the new liquor licenses to the committee in the past. Am I correct with that, Heather? Do you know? The way that we do have the cannabis businesses come and talk to us, we used to
Yes.
have with the business. So we lost that. That's not something that we do. So we used to have the opportunity to meet the owners of the businesses.
Yes, what we would do, and some boards actually still do that when it's a new business, right? It's someone new to the community. They would come in and typically this is when the consumer affairs would meet in person. And they would come in and do a presentation to the Consumer Affairs Committee before they voted on the liquor license, talk about their business and so on and so forth. You could ask a few questions of the business. But since COVID and since we've been doing everything online pretty much, we still do our due diligence with the precinct as far as the existing owners and so on and so forth. But we haven't been doing that. So maybe starting with, new business owners. The only thing is, this would be a challenge. So for example, we approved a liquor license for Smash Burger that was supposed to go into where Austin Public is. That was over a year ago. We do not have a Smash Burger. So sometimes we'll be asked to approve a liquor license for a facility that has a restaurant that hasn't even opened yet. I think there was even a restaurant that was supposed to open over in the new building on the service road between McDonald Park and the post office. I think it was called Boulevard or something like that. And I don't think that is even opened yet. That's supposed to be some fine dining institution. So sometimes when new restaurants apply to us, they're not opened yet. So I hope that helps.
It does.
Kinda.
Yeah, no, it does. It's something we don't have to even answer tonight. Gladys and I wanted to present it because we thought it would be something that we could do now that, people are looking to get out of their house, especially getting warm outside. We can revisit this opportunity in the winter when it gets still too cold. People don't want to go out as much. So, I just want to throw it out there. You all can reach out to Gladys and myself outside of this meeting. But we just want to present it. So yeah, I think that's all for the agenda. Gladys, Heather, anyone else, if there's anything you want to bring up, we can do that. But also just want to throw out that if you have not, which I feel like most of you have, if you have not responded to Christine about the renewals, so yes to renewals and yes to new liquor licenses, please do so.